Let's talk about the 10 most important things in a medical malpractice case. This is our 10 bullet points we tell everyone. The first one is you always ask how many cases this lawyer's actually tried. Don't just ask how many they've handled, how many they've tried, because lots of lawyers can settle cases short for less money just because they're afraid of the courtroom and they're afraid of losing. You can't be afraid. You got to be confident, go in there. So ask that question. That's number one. Number two is venue is king. A case that might be worth $1 million in St. Louis City might only be worth $100,000 in St. Louis County because you have a different group of people and they value things differently, different judges, the whole world is different. So the venue or the location of the case matters a lot, especially in medical malpractice. It's another thing that's really important. If you've done a lot of medical malpractice, you know your opponent. I started off about 30 years ago on the defense side. And within 5 or 6 years, you would recognize which lawyers were afraid to try a case, and you would always lowball them. Well, the same thing happens on my side. I know which lawyers, they may be defense lawyers, but they're afraid to go in the courtroom. And they're afraid of losing. And they're afraid that if they lose, they'll not get any more cases from this client. So you can really put your thumb down on those people. And if you don't have enough cases with them, then you don't know that experience. You don't know what they're likely to do. And the thing is this, you can trust that they're not going to ever cheat you or try to screw you or your client because there are more cases coming down the road. And they know that if they do that to somebody like me, I will pay them back in case a year from now or 2 years from now. So experience causes a level playing field. Another one is you need to understand what we have to prove. What we have to prove is that a doctor or a hospital failed to do something that a reasonably careful doctor would have done or wouldn't have done. Simply being wrong isn't malpractice. Having a bad result isn't malpractice. But getting jurors to believe that this doctor failed to do what a reasonably careful doctor would do, that's the key. If we can do that, we're halfway home to winning. Another thing that we have to worry about in medical malpractice is that we keep a clear record. And that may sound a little odd to the folks who don't do this every day, but what that means is this. Everything about your life or your mother's life or whoever we represent, we have to know everything about, everything. So that means we have to understand what their past was. Nothing can be hidden from us. If grandma had a heart attack 5 years ago, we need to know it. Everybody has those problems. Everyone does. We can always be prepared for them if we know about them, if we know about every doctor. The insurance companies have the benefit of sharing information with one another. We don't have that. So we have to get everything from you. So that's why you have to be open with us. One of the most important things for you as a client is understanding that our job is to find the problems with your case and fix them. That means if we're being fair, we have to look you in the eyes and say, well, here's what's wrong with your case. And we have an adult conversation about it. And we say, can we fix those? Sometimes we can't fix all the problems. Doesn't mean your case is bad, just means we have to be aware that there's a problem there. But if we go ahead and we're honest about our case, we're honest about where we're weak, we can then assess how we go about changing that or how we go about addressing that. TLC, we've talked with other people about TLCs, trust, like, and compensate. The jurors or the judge must trust you and they must like you before they will compensate you, and trust is the most important thing. Jurors are willing to accept almost anything if you tell them it honestly. They will accept if you had a criminal record. If you say, look, I was young and I did something really stupid and I learned from it and now I've got a good job and a wife and kids. In fact, they kind of admire that you've changed your life. They will not accept a lie because the moment you lie, it's over. Your deposition will have to be taken. We've talked about that with other folks. Depositions are a little scary, but you'll be fine. I'm there with you the whole time. It only lasts about 3 hours. And the defendants really aren't there to attack you. They just want to find out what you know. Sometimes you don't know anything. If your case involves something that went wrong during your surgery, you were unconscious and your family wasn't even in the room, so there's not much you can say. So oftentimes, especially in the medical malpractice cases, the deposition of the client, really, they just want to know what happened and they want to know how you're doing today. And oftentimes, that's really all they want to know. They can be done in an hour. Everyone walks in the office and they want to go to trial. They want to go to trial. Yeah, they do until they're in a trial. And then it's scary. I've done this for my whole adult life and it's still scary. And we like to tell folks that the scariest thing you're ever going to hear in your life is when the bailiff says the jury is back. because we've been laughing and talking and waiting for the jury to come back. We've been holding our breath and guessing what they might do, but now we're going to find out. And you have to go in that room and we hold hands and we watch that person stand up and hand the verdict form to the judge. And at that point, had there been good money on the table, you will have wished you'd taken it. And my job is to make sure you know that. And sometimes you say, no, I understand the risk and I'm going to do it anyway because they killed my mom. And I'm right there with you. But those are the scariest words. And the last thing is this: what we do keeps everyone safe. What we have done in other cases have changed the way hospitals have handled things. We had a young man who was told that he had a condition that could have possibly been detected through what's called a monospot blood test. They didn't do that test. They told him he thought he had mono, and they sent him home. It turns out he actually had leukemia, and he died 7 days later at the age of 9. Now, the problem with the monospot blood test, it's not terribly reliable for whether you have mono, but what would it have shown? Leukemia. And had they run that test, they would have bought this little 9-year-old boy another year, maybe a whole life, maybe 6 months. But part of what we pressed for in the settlement of that case is you change your policy so that if you have a minor who comes in and you think he's got all this lethargy and he's got all these signs and symptoms, go ahead and run the test and then look at it and see what's on there. And so one of the reasons we're proud of what we do is, hey, we're the only thing standing between really bad medicine and you, and we're proud of what we do.